All right, so let's call this meeting a town council work session goal setting meeting to order for Monday, May 19th. You have an agenda that was presented to you, and we have decided to move, well, with your permission, we're going to move the closed meeting regarding personnel matters to the beginning of this meeting as opposed to injecting it in the middle of our meeting. Do any of you have an objection with that?
No.
That's proposed? Okay. So then I would entertain a motion to go into closed meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I move the town council go into closed meeting for the purpose of discussion and consideration of the assignment, promotion, performance, and salaries of employees of the town pursuant to section 2.2-3711.8.1 of the Code of Virginia.
Okay, second. There's a second? Doug Napier's not here.
No, he's hanging out in his office working.
Okay. All right, any discussion? All those in roll call? We need a roll call.
Yes, Mr. Tebow?
Mr. Tebow?
Oh, yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Holloway?
Yes.
Mr. Massa?
Yes.
And Ms. Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize, but we're going to go in, I don't apologize, we're just going to go in executive session. We've adjusted our agenda, probably, I would say 30 minutes, and roughly, we'll come back in. Okay, I'd entertain a motion to certify closed meeting at its conclusion.
Mr. Mayor, I move the council certify that to the best of each member's knowledge as recognized by each council member's affirmative vote, that only such public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting by council, and that the vote of each individual member of council be taken by roll call and recorded and included in the minutes of the meeting of town council.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Ms. Berry, roll call, please.
Mr. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Holloway?
Yes.
Mr. Massa?
Yes.
Mr. Tebow?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ms. Thompson?
Yes.
And Mayor Tedrick?
Yes. And Bill Seelock abstaining?
Stay.
Okay. Okay,
I recommend we take a 5-minute break.
let's take a 5-minute recess.
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Joe, Bill's back. I go ahead and get started. Wait,
Okay.
Jake will figure it out.
All righty. I wanted to start out by recognizing the fact that what we're doing here today is to start the budget process, and something that we haven't done in previous years is sit down and talk about our goals, our priorities before starting a budget. So this is basically what me and Matt have talked about, is kicking off this budget process by going through these goals. I passed out a sheet. It's the SMART goal planning form. It's the who, what, how, reasonable. This is what we're going to be trying to gauge ourselves as we develop goals. And actually SMART is just an acronym for being specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So I will be, as we move through the process and start establishing goals, I will try to, if you can help me try to answer those questions of who, what, how, reasonable, expected results, and when. Wanted to go over a little bit of terminology here. First, the goal is a statement of what we want to accomplish. The objectives are the components of parts of those goals that are more specific and include performance standards. So that's what we're going to be drilling down tonight, is developing those objectives. And one other thing that we're going to tonight is a champion. Every goal that we establish tonight, we want to put a champion next to it, a council member that will take the lead and follow through and make sure that that goal is on target and on track. So as we move through this process, we start establishing those goals. If you want to volunteer to champion something, like for example, pedestrian safety, I know that's Bill Wax, so he may want to champion that, but the idea is that every goal will have a council member tied to it to lead that.
You mean to lead it from start to finish, or to be the person who at the work sessions or whatever brings it up or gets it on the agenda to be able
Point
to
of
talk about it?
contact,
Okay.
yeah. All right. Now, setting ground rules. I've got 10 of my ground rules that I think we should follow tonight. A lot of these are pretty self-explanatory, but if you can turn off your cell phones or to vibrate, it'd be much appreciated. We're gonna stick to the agenda even though we're already off the agenda, but we're gonna go back and talk about the agenda real quick. We're gonna try to stay on topic and on time. As you know, that we developed over 17, 18 goals. My objective tonight was to talk about the top 10. I don't know if we're going to be able to get through that tonight, but we're going to try. Demonstrate mutual respect with no negative criticism. Seek first to understand. One speaker at a time. Silence is agreement. Consent. This is the idea that if you have issues with what we're talking about, please bring them up now after this meeting's closed. So silence is agreement. If you have a problem with what we're discussing, please speak up. Don't say it can't be done, because that goes back to being negative. Limit side conversations, and that leads into my jellyfish rule. This is the most important rule we have. Jellyfish, anybody can say jellyfish. What jellyfish is designed for is for if there's a side conversation that starts to happen between two council members, or if we get down in the weeds of something and we get off topic, somebody can just say jellyfish, or I think I saw a jellyfish swim by. It's just a more polite way to say, hey, we're getting off track, let's get back on track. So the jellyfish rule it's something that I came across that I thought was unique and not evasive to say, hey, what you're talking about is important, but we need to take that off topic. We need to take that off site or off the meeting exactly, and talk. So that's my jellyfish rule, and we'll be interested to see if anybody says jellyfish tonight. Everybody agreeable with the ground rules?
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Now, I always like to do an icebreaker to liven things up a little bit, get everybody loose before we start our goal session. And so the icebreaker, and I got it on the board there, it's introduce yourself simply with your name and an adjective that describes you. The adjective must start with the same letter of your first name. And I'll start out, and I'm just Joe.
I don't think that counts.
All right, who's next?
Chris?
Chris, I'm curious.
Curious Chris.
There you go.
Gary.
Serious.
Gary, good.
No,
Serious.
gotta start with G.
Got to start with a G.
Got it. Oh.
Gorgeous Gary.
Let's do that.
All right, we'll go with that. What do you got, Bill?
Bill. Bold.
Bold Bill.
Oh, man.
All right.
I'm gonna use my real name, Eugene, energetic.
Energetic. All right.
Jake? Jokester. That's Jokester. How about Jokester?
Be an animal's name.
Jokester Jake?
I'm gonna go with my nickname and say Talkative Tasha.
Talkative Tasha. And we can't let the mayor off.
Oh yeah,
Manic Matt.
on a Monday.
Mean Matt?
Yeah,
Mad Matt?
Bad man.
I've had them all.
All right.
Yeah, we can go down the line.
Say it again.
All right. Y'all have gotten the list of priorities that everybody got back with me. I'll use yours, so Tasha, from January, February, and integrated on that. As you can see, what the rankings are of the top 17. The idea, when I originally put the schedule together, was we were going to take 15 minutes per goal area for the top 6 and do 10 minutes for goal 7 through 10. Now that was when I had another 45 minutes. But I don't want to shorten discussion on these top goals. So with your pleasure, I'd like to stick to 15 minutes at least for the top 3 goals. Let's see what we get accomplished and we can adjust time. So the goal is to get to the 10 tonight if possible. Okay.
Just for a matter of public record, I didn't weigh in on the Valley Health pilot ranking. And if that is something that comes up for discussion, my silence would be more abstaining from conversation, not an agreement.
Okay. Duly noted. All right. So, to get it in, I'm going to ask Jennifer to keep track of my time. All right, so 15 minutes. The first goal area number 1 is the Afton Inn. So, the reason I put areas is because a lot of these, like for instance, the top 3, Afton Inn, the EDA, and streets and infrastructure, are so broad. So, but let's stay on task and let's stay on point. So we'll go ahead and start our time. And first subject is Afton Inn. Who wants to start? Jay?
I think up to date, I believe where we are is either find a solution with the current property, as in we own it, turn it over to the developer, or do we turn it into a parking lot? It seems like this council's been on the same page of this is our last ditch effort to get this done and we want to move towards resolution. And if not sure what other options are with it. So it was my understanding that we're moving this to a point where we're going to get it over the finish line or make a decision as a group on what to do with it. So I would like to continue following that path.
Joe, would it be helpful to give some fact patterns on this first, on the Afton Inn?
Facts as in where we're at today.
Right.
Yeah. We are currently discussing with the EDA, if I'm correct on this, Matt, about possibly working out a deal for the town to take back. We're looking at the possibility of the town taking back ownership of the Afton Inn and taking control of the redevelopment of that project. That is where we're currently looking at what the feasibility is and how do we get from where we're at our current condition to over to that fashion.
Where are we at in that discussion? Where are we at in that?
Yeah, so I have asked our town attorney to draft an MOU and get it to the developers to see if it'd be amenable. And then once they kind of come to their verbal understanding of what they think is reasonable, present it to you guys, you present it to council, get your feedback, and figure out if that's the path forward or not. What the concern was about getting council input early, meaning I could have Doug present the MOU to you first, and then take it to the developer, but you're not going to know what they're willing to accept or not. So I'll handle it any way you guys want, but the bottom line is, I think Joe's right. You made a very clear point the last time we discussed this, that council was not going to loan or morally obligate or co-sign a loan with the EDA in order for the EDA to keep the property. The EDA, I believe, is going to be receptive to having the title of the property be deeded back to the town, but the developer still needs financing, so we have to come up with financing to finish the project for the developer and then figure out a way to get our money back. So that's the nuances of it all. Is that accurate, Joe?
Yeah, that's correct.
There's very bad situations, there's bad situations, there's not so bad situations, there's barely good situation, and that's where we're at with this thing.
Which one of it? Barely
Well,
good?
Right now, we're barely good, because to be honest with you, the town government's not in the business of loaning developers
Yeah.
money to do a project. But it's gonna be our project, meaning we're gonna own the building during the construction phase, if that's the option that's chosen. If left the way it is, in my opinion, that building's gonna sit like that for 3 to 5 years. Until all this stuff with the EDA gets unwound. The other option is, get the property and tear it down. Well, the EDA is out $500,000 for the money that they've already spent. They're likely not to want to deed it over to us if there's no chance for them to recoup their money. So,
But either way, they're going to look to recoup their money. We're going to be out the money we're loaning the contractor until we finish the project.
till the finish, that's right, that's my thought. So, and we can talk about the details of this another time, but. So the who?
So the goal is to,
Complete the project?
right, to
get ownership of the property,
Yeah, so,
get title.
right. So we want to definitely take ownership, is that?
Yeah, I think it would,
Right.
Well, I would, let me say, I agree with that to a point. But if we've already exhausted everything that's a possibility of the EDA getting the money to finish the project.
It's my understanding that the only way that will happen is if the town morally obligates for that loan.
Well, see, I didn't hear that last Thursday night. I thought I heard them say they were still working with the contractor. Now, I might have been wrong, but I thought I heard it.
Working with the contractor to pay him what's already owed.
yeah.
Well, I didn't hear that part. I thought he said that they were still working with the contractor, but the question was asked.
I've had
That
two
they were
meetings,
still
I've
working
had two
towards
meetings
the
with
goal.
EDA. In both meetings, they said the only way is to, the last one was that Dan Witten actually said it, the only way is the town morally obligate.
So the first goal is develop a plan to take ownership of the afternoon. By what date?
I don't see any downside to taking it back. Am I missing something?
Well,
Yeah, I don't either.
you sure don't want to, you sure don't want to take it back and leave it like that.
No, if we take it back and if we don't, if we can't
Yeah.
afford, or we can't find a way to finish the project, then I say let's just take it down. I mean, if not, it's gonna sit there for years. It's been,
Yeah.
I mean, no one's gonna do anything with it. You keep hearing everybody up in arms about finish it and then this, that, but nobody's coming up, with any money. So that's what they don't understand. We don't have the money.
So is the goal, council needs to develop a strategy for the afternoon?
Either that, yeah.
So what you're saying is take it back, finance. That's, if you're gonna take it back, we gotta finance. That's what you're getting at, okay.
So the goal will be to develop a plan to take ownership of the afternoon. Yes.
Works for me.
One question though, the contractor had an agreement to finish this project and assume ownership, if I'm not mistaken, of the property within a 5-year period. Am I right?
5-year period with 5-year option.
Now, how can we obligate them to come up with money within a 5-year period if they don't have money or whatever? Would their terms with the EDA still follow true with us?
Wait, no, and I think Matt hit it right in the beginning, that the EDA has no problem transferring ownership, but they do want to recoup their investment. So there's some fashion or manner we're going to have to deal with that issue, because they have invested, I think, almost less than $500,000 already on this project.
So really what you're saying is, one, we gotta develop a plan for the afternoon. 2, we gotta negotiate the terms with the EDA. 3, negotiate the terms with the developer.
But you're wanting to know if we have the appetite to take it back in finance. I think that's the biggest.
Yeah, it's the biggest thing, right?
I think
I'm not interested in that.
You want the
What's the
EDA to hold it?
And
What's the
reason I say
difference
that
whether
is-
you have the EDA do it or we do it?
I think if we do it, it'll get done. I think the EDA always won't do it, it'll never do it.
Well, I'm still concerned from the standpoint when they first approached us, the contractor. They told us they had the money to do the project, but the only difference was EDA had that 5-year limitation. And the second point being that they could get a loan at a low interest rate. And that's what has turned backwards for the developer. Because now, instead of paying $2 million, they're gonna be looking at 3.5, or some figure. I don't know what the real figure is.
Well, again, my problem is basically, if we get it back and then we're still obligated for 500,000, we still don't have anything. We don't have nothing but a shell.
Why doesn't EDA take ownership of the project like they have a MOU and finish the
Because
project?
they can't get
They don't have money.
financing for the project without the town government being obligated for it. So if the town government's obligated, we might as well
Well,
control it.
Right.
also, if we end up, assuming ownership of the property, we don't have to deal with the same contractor. Am I right? If we assume ownership of the property, wouldn't we have to put it out for bid?
I would imagine, but that's not my question. But my question is, if we take it back, are we gonna be obligated to pay the EDA $500,000 back?
Well, if we
And if
end
that's
up,
the case, I'm not interested.
well, I know the
Because they're the
thing,
one got us in the hot water to begin with. Yeah, I'll take it back on this condition
Jellyfish.
that there's no,
yeah, I think we all agree. I mean, several things.
If we can get it back, work out the terms, I think they would have the appetite
Right.
to get it back and work out the terms of it, but.
Yeah, I think we're in the weeds on it.
We
Yeah.
So in other words,
yeah, I agree.
I agree with Gene. I mean, we gotta figure out,
You need to
the
develop a plan.
terms of all this is very, it's still too fluid.
Right.
So
But it is
The
a goal of
afternoon-
council.
the goal of council is to result, and get the EDA, get the Afton developed. That's the goal of council. So we gotta develop the plan to do that. And if we have to negotiate with EDA, negotiate with the developer, that's when we come back and get council's feedback.
And get that rolling now, like get it rolling.
It is
I think that's the goal.
It's
is to-
already rolling.
I'm sorry, to get activity on the Afton Inn rolling, whatever it
As
is.
soon as
we wanna
possible,
do.
yeah, within,
So that's why I said the EDA has to have priorities set, and we have to be in the priorities.
So,
All I've heard since
jellyfish,
this EDA went down is the county's priorities.
do we want to
This has to be one of the priorities.
That word's gonna be
What
like
do
a
you
cuss
need,
word today.
All right.
what do you need?
Yeah.
Eric?
I'm not, I mean, I think it's the council's goal is to do something with it, but, I think the direction of us, assuming.
So maybe the goal is develop an action plan
Yep.
to redevelop the Afton Inn and,
Or make a park.
hmm,
I said, or make a park out of it.
yeah, I
We can't
mean,
do
yeah,
anything
so
else.
really,
I don't even know what we're talking about there.
I mean, that would make national news. Topics that.
so we're gonna develop an action plan to redevelop the Afton Inn by,
January?
September 15th.
What?
September 15th.
Yeah, I think a plan has to be in place, yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
September 15th. All right,
He's the champion.
I'll champion it.
Matt will champion.
That's who I'm going.
Man,
Okay.
I like it.
Everybody good with this? This is gonna hinge on everything. This, when we develop this action plan, it should address everything. Either us taking ownership or trying to find some resolution with the EDA to get it resolved, but to find something.
But status quo is not acceptable. That's the fact. Unanimous support.
All right,
All right, what's next?
Lawsuit, EDA.
are we good with the afternoon?
I think I've done that.
This really covers it all now. We'll probably have to come back and drill down further once we develop the action plan. Okay.
That's what I.
Now the E EDA.
We need to be careful what we say here.
So we have three things here: lawsuit, financing, local EDA. And part of this has just been addressed with our joint meeting, right?
I think so.
A little bit, I think.
Yeah, what I did here is that there were multiple lines of areas for EDA, and I just kind of clumped them up because, to be honest with you, they all came 2, 3, 4. So,
Okay.
I'd like to start with this.
all right.
I think we need to find finances to be able to get back in the EDA as far as appointing members.
Okay.
If we restructure it somehow, I think the town needs a bigger footprint with what's going on with day-to-day action.
It would be,
Without question.
it would be my hope that this Economic Development Reform Committee would help to develop some type of parameters and the future steps for the EDA. I mean, that was what my impression and thoughts were on what this committee was supposed to do.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So I think the action item, that's what you're looking for, right?
Yep.
The reform committee needs to meet.
Right.
I mean, that's the action item, and then we need to wait and see what comes out of that meeting to determine our path forward. In the meantime, we have a civil suit still in place. What more action is needed at this time?
I think the public meeting was discussed about the EDA, county, town attorney
Having a meeting?
having a meeting as well.
Yep.
And I think we still need to discuss our intent behind that, this group, as part of that EDA lawsuit portion. But the committee, I agree with everything Matt just said. And I just talked to Jennifer today, but she sent out 2 proposed dates and times within the next week or so for that group to get together.
I've heard back from everybody except one.
Okay.
Okay, so what do you want to talk about next?
The committee's meeting, that's going to address the, I think it could address the local EDA, the solution of the EDA, restructure of the EDA, how we appoint people or whatever. I think it takes care of a lot of that. There isn't any project financing for the EDA because there's no available money, and the last thing on that's the lawsuit.
The litigation.
Yeah.
So, as it relates to this EDA legal issue, the attorneys are going to meet for the town and county with the
And EDA.
managers, right?
Town, county, and EDA.
Just the attorneys,
Right.
right? And then they're going to try to develop their legal, not plan, but
They were going to discuss
at least their legal, how they're going to move forward from a legal standpoint.
can we move forward from a legal standpoint as 3 bodies together.
So here's a question I've had and a concern I've had. This issue is so large, the volume of the legal matters is just so large. I'm concerned about our county attorney solely being responsible for this, for handling all this. I think at some point we're
Town
going to
or county?
Or town attorney, did I say county?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, town attorney. I think we need to seriously consider outsourcing the whole EDA with Doug in a major support role, but I'm just concerned with the amount of time. I mean, he's overwhelmed. He came in and worked all weekend.
I've been vocal about this. I'm supportive of that, particularly as the 3 bodies are going to get together and start talking strategy. I think it's a great thing, but also want to make sure that we know all of our options and are protecting our interests.
Well, I've opposed that due to the fact that financially, I don't think we're able to pay an attorney $400 or $500 an hour to get that involved in an EDA problem that we've already into already. I think if we get into this mess, we're going to be more involved and spend more money in trying to do nothing than what they owe us already. I see no value at this point until we know what's going on.
Yeah, and I think that's a point well taken. I think we wait until the lawyers, I guess EDA, the lawsuit, maybe a lawyer meeting between the 3 bodies.
Right.
And
I
then
thought the gist of the 3 lawyers meeting was to determine if we could do it jointly, which would request us to back off and then go at it jointly.
And on the second one, project financing, I think that is required what we owe them. That's what you're referring to with the Leech Run Parkway, all the others.
Right.
Until we get something back from them, it said, 2 weeks or something of that nature. And I talked to one of the persons on the EDA the other day, said, I don't understand the issue. They could get that right from their auditors immediately. And I didn't say any more. I left it go with that. But if one of the EDA members thinks they can do that, why can't we get it?
Well, we do have a meeting tomorrow with EDA, mainly focused on the PD finances. But we do have a meeting with them on tomorrow, so hopefully we can get some issues and some answers.
To me, that is the main focus here, to me, right at this point. What do we owe, what they owe us, and send it goes from there.
Yeah, so, yeah, project financing. So,
What about communication?
That's good.
communications,
Yep. Town council should meet with the EDA on some kind of schedule and get these things resolved.
We're gonna have a couple more meetings of town, county, and EDA, right?
Yeah, we're trying to have one the 27th of August, but that's gonna have to get pushed back a week.
Forward or move back?
Be, well, forward.
That's what I thought.
The one particular question, back to the lawsuit component of it, was the three attorneys meeting, and I've always still, I think that those three attorneys are gonna develop a strategy which may or may not be something that we like, and that's why I went back to, again, kind of having outside counsel as part of this to collaborate with Doug. I guess it's more of a question for you, Mr. Mayor, is I think I'm at this point where how do I get this council to make a determination on whether or not we have the appetite to do that? Because county did it. You heard Mr. Stanley mention that they've spent less than $10,000 on outside counsel. And that's their reason for putting Mr. Witten over in the EDA. I've been talking about this for over a year now, and I want this council to put out a vote that says either we want this or we don't, but it's never gone any further. So how do I
I
make
think
that
the
happen?
time, personally, you asked me and I'll open up to council, I think the time to have that vote would be after you have a meeting and after the attorneys come together and they kind of come to a consensus of either we're not going to do this together or we are going to do this together, or the consensus might be we're going to do this together and we need to outsource it to another law firm. I think that'd be the time to figure out, because from our civil suit that we have filed, I've been told by our town attorney, we're just holding. We're locked in. We have locked in our position from a statute of limitation perspective. So there's not a lot of effort, not a lot of legal effort needed for Doug for that. The legal effort for Doug would be, are we going to go after other parties? And that's where if the county decides to join and the EDA, joins, then we may need to go out and get a different law firm.
What I'm worried about is a recommendation for dropping our suit in order to body together and have confidential information. I'm worried about that recommendation.
But the only reason, correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer, you're here, right? In the back. If you missed, you had the tapes, right? Or you listened to those tapes of the meeting, the joint meeting. So if my recollection is incorrect, please correct me, but the only time it became a conflict for as it relates to the suit, was if we use Sands Anderson, which is the EDA's current attorney. They can't share information with us if we're still in civil litigation. If the three bodies decided to use law firm X, there's no conflict of interest. So we can proceed.
But we wouldn't be privy to. Okay, you're not.
You just wouldn't be privy to the Sands, whatever
Yeah.
information they have.
I'm okay with that, but
I think you're looking at end of September, early October, we're gonna have that vote. So EDA at this point,
we got the reform committee that's handling one thing. We got the lawsuit, we got the meetings going along with the lawyers.
you got the project
Project
finance.
financing, we got a meeting tomorrow.
Joint attorney, joint
Yeah.
legal strategy meeting.
Yeah. So really, all these are pretty much driven already. I don't know if you want to try to develop some additional goals beyond what these three are already doing, but
these are good.
these are basically already established in some degree. These already have deadlines. EDA Reform Committee has some deadlines. We already have a joint committee. I don't know where Doug is. I'll have to ask Doug where he is with meeting with the other two lawyers, but,
My impression is we're gonna take initiative every step of the way on this. We wanna get it.
And we need a resolution on, the police department financing rather than just broad project financing.
yeah, we
I
actually.
mean, that's immediate.
Right, and the immediate is what I was telling you. We have a meeting tomorrow with EDA, BJ, and staff have a meeting over there for we can find some resolution for the PD financing. So they have taken heed to our concern and needing that information, so hopefully we can get all this resolved tomorrow. Or at least get first step moving forward.
So as far as champions, we have myself, Doug, and BJ.
Yep.
I know you said council members, but
Yeah.
I didn't. That's a big one.
Now, the next one should bring forth, hopefully, quite a few goals. That's basically streets and infrastructure. That includes sidewalks, curb and gutter, asphalt, all types of infrastructure improvements. Paving, storm sewer as well.
What's the idea behind this? Basically, whether or not we're just gonna fund it?
I think Gene might have brought this up a little bit on paving, right, Gene? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
That's my expertise is streets and highways.
Right.
And I ride around this town quite often, and we need to really address our infrastructure because it's falling apart in a lot of areas. And, but it goes right back to what Jake just said. We need money. In order to repair them, you got to have funding in order to do it. But just to go asphalt a street, just to say it needs asphalt, is not the answer. You actually got to repair it first, and then asphalt it after you repair the cracks and the holes and whatever. Because if you put asphalt on a street that's not ready for the asphalt, and 2 years after that, you've got the holes back in the asphalt. And I can show you, 6th Street's a good example. It was paved about 5 years ago, and you look at it down in front of the city bank, all roads fall apart.
Right.
And so we need to realize that either we get money some way, either by bond or some way. I don't know how. Our budget will not sustain enough money to repair our streets at this point without borrowing money through the bond market and paying it back in a loan. So I really don't know how in the world we plan on doing this. But I'd like to be the champion of this and see if we can work together with the Director of Public Works, and you and others to see where we can get finances, maybe through revenue sharing. I'm not sure how the state is on revenue sharing at this point. But I know
Gene, are you asking for the plan to complete? Like, we're gonna spend X amount of dollars 1 year, or we're just gonna take care of these streets 1 year, or?
Well, I think the first thing we need to do is find out if we can get financial assistance. Second thing is, and then sit down and get a plan on what areas we need to work on. Now, this year, we've got a plan, I think, we approve one.
Approve one, not
And
fully
then go
funded.
from there, because I noticed the bridge on going back to the infrastructure, the bridge on Jackson Street needs a decking on it. It's got potholes in the deck already, it's falling out. And if we don't get it before it gets down into the rebar, you're gonna have major problems. So we need to look at that and even get money set aside for that project. So, there's a lot of issues here that we need to look at, and we need to work towards some type of financial goal through our budget or through the state in order to follow through with these particular issues. And I think that I'd like to see us champion some type of a program with our Public Works Director and Joe, you as well, and see what kind of cost and where can the money be brought forward from. If you do have to go to a bond market on it.
So we're looking at probably developing a comprehensive paving plan and how to fund it.
And repair. Not only that, but you gotta look at the repair work first.
And a lot of these streets that come up for paving that don't have curb and gutter, it doesn't make really any sense to pave them without curb and gutter. So I think that should probably be.
And it doesn't make sense to put new asphalt down if you don't have the proper storm sewer system, such as Steel Street, that we all took a look at.
And I have staff investigating that and looking in to see if it does need additional storm sewer inlets on that road before we go back and pave. Because right now, we just releasing the water infrastructure improvements up there.
I don't know if this falls in line with infrastructure or pedestrian safety, but it was brought up to maybe put speed bumps near the soccer fields out there on Kerfoot. That is a terrible spot.
It's raceway.
Yeah.
I think that should be part of our pedestrian safety.
Perfect. Thank you.
Because I think there's a few of those streets that we have. What?
You also have to bridge
I got shot down
prospect.
on speed bumps.
As far as,
Right?
I don't know where we're
Speed
at
bumps are illegal.
with that. As far as.
They're illegal.
Other places do it.
Very
That's
good.
Jellyfish.
What about it?
Bridge on Prospect.
Oh, the bridge on Possum Prospect.
Yeah, to let you know, the bridge on Prospect, we know, let me back up. Last year, the bridge was inspected, and VDOT determined that it didn't meet specs, that we had to downgrade that bridge to 5-ton. We have a list of work that needs to be done to that bridge. We have submitted that to VDOT for revenue sharing, for we get 50-50. That looks like that may go through, so we may have to allocate some money in next year's budget to fund that project. But there were 2 projects that we put through revenue sharing. That was one of them. The other one was, and it deals with pedestrian safety, is the lights along North Shenandoah. That looks like that may go through as well, so they will pay 50% of that. So, those are definitely things that we will, as staff, be bringing to the table next budget cycle.
But going back to this one, I think we need to sit down with, like I said, with you and our public works director, and so we'll work out a plan, see what kind of finances we need in order to follow through with the plan.
Okay, so we want to develop.
I would almost say the first step would be goal of total dollars. Figure out the total dollars that we can invest in infrastructure. I have no problem with the sidewalks and roads and everything else, but all that's kind of mute if we can't spend $500,000 or $1 million or whatever it needs. Like, we need to know how much dollars do we have to allocate towards this, how much funding can we get, and then develop a plan of the streets that we can attack or be able to take care of.
Yeah, that's what I was.
What projects we can.
The problem is, though, you can't do revenue sharing until you have a plan.
Right.
And the street that you want to work in. So you can't add money in there if you don't know where the money's coming from. Or
So we're
what
going to
it's
develop an
gonna
overall plan with costs
Yeah.
associated with it by a certain date. And then another goal would be to explore all funding opportunities available.
I see what you're saying.
Well, what I'm trying to say, Joe, we can't do it all this year, but we need a plan for this coming budget. That's what you need. That's what you need to know.
Right.
So we need to sit down with a plan on what streets is more important than others that needs repair. And then come up with a plan and come up with the cost. And then work towards that cost figure in our budget.
Okay, so you want to develop an infrastructure plan for the FY 2021 budget.
Right. And then we can work forward from that.
Well, it really needs to be a short-term, intermediate-term, and long-term plan.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Meaning,
saying.
it needs to be a comprehensive plan for what's going to be improved, when it's going to be approved, and then we determine budgets accordingly.
So we're going to develop an overall infrastructure plan with a focus on.
Then the outcome of that's going to be what we're going to spend this year, and then how we're going to finance it.
You gotta do it on a year-by-year basis. And a need basis, because, you know, if you have a bad winter, some streets will need it quicker than a street that we've already proposed. So that's the way it is, that's the way you want to do these streets. Because if you get a wet winter, there's a lot of snow, a lot of them deteriorates quicker than others.
We're going to develop an overall infrastructure plan with cost estimates.
Gene said they have financing options, you know, you may want to ladder bonds and
Right.
roll it out every 5 years.
Right. Yeah, first though, we gotta get the plan together before we can then, you know, I think a goal too would be funding.
Short term for this year and then the long term
Right.
for the
Right.
following year.
Right. And that would be down here as part of that would be short-term and long-term goals. But the key here is, when do we want this due? This infrastructure.
It's gotta be
plan.
done.
And it has to be done.
Before budget.
Yeah, it has to be done before budget. I release the budget to the staff late September, early October, BJ, about that time.
Yep.
And then they have until normally mid-November. So this has to be done. I would have to, I'm gonna put it on us as September 30th.
Is that possible? I mean, that sounds awesome, but.
Is it possible? Yes, it's possible, because we already have a paving plan.
Okay.
So we just basically need to get that reevaluated, develop some cost, and think of a perfect world, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Well, the paving plan is nice, right? But just like Bill said, stormwater.
Right. And what I'm saying is some of that information is already available. So I really do believe we could probably put something together by September 30th that would address an overall plan. Now, the cost estimates and stuff and developing short and long term may take a little longer.
But in this whole process, what Bill's talking about and what we've said and what Chris is talking about, we need to look at the streets. Do they need curb and gutter? Do they need storm drainage? And work through that project in order to know exactly where we're at.
Well, yeah, that needs to be done first.
Because what has happened, I think what the impression is, in years past, Thumb would get on the scale, and then this street would get paved, and that street is more random than it is a structured rollout.
It's more, in my opinion, since I've been in the seat for 3 years, it's more what we have funding for, and we
Right.
take what's the worst
Right.
of the bunch, unfortunately.
All right, what else?
Can I money be used for storm sewer installation?
Not storm sewer, not storm sewer. I&I is another whole issue when we get to talk about that.
That comes under the enterprise funds.
Part of the reason why we can't get ahead.
That's right.
Pizza business.
So we want to develop funding alternatives. That one I'm a little unsure of. I know it's part of the overall goal. And one thing I wanted to ask when we talk about curb and gutters and we talk about paving streets, there's been
Requiring people to.
requiring people, are we gonna mandate it or, you know, that's always been kind of a gray area and we've been back and forth on making the homeowner pay 50% of it or mandating it. I don't know.
Only if undeveloped property, if somebody goes in to develop the property, I think they should put the curb and gutter, because that's an improvement to the property, or you want to do an improvement to a vacant lot or whatever. For current homeowners that don't have any curb and gutter, I don't think we should assess them for that. Because it's actually on town property, it's going to be owned by the town, not by the homeowner. Yes, exactly. That's just like, you know, if Gene were to come out and park in front of my house on the curb and left his car there for a month, I call up the police department and say, hey, I got this old car out in front of my house on my apron on my curb, and they want to tell me that's town property.
Good?
I can live with these, can you, Gene?
Yeah.
I think this is a good start. This will get us going down a path.
Would tap fees be in there?
No.
I&I issues.
You want to brief council on
Yeah, we did get, town did receive a letter about 30 days ago, notice of violation from DEQ. It mainly had to do with the number of bypasses the plant encountered last year due to the heavy rainfall. And as part of those bypasses, I think our solids limits went out of whack. And so we had a meeting with DEQ. Just to let you know, we've been under consent order with DEQ since 2009. Okay, they have decided that they are going to write us a new consent order to include this new violation as well as the existing I&I. And the reason that they're doing that is the fact that it's been 10 years and they said that they need to rewrite this order and put some more teeth to it. So we're in the process of meeting with DEQ on a regular basis, negotiating what that consent order will detail. Right now, staff's working on a plan of action to address those violations. We already have a plan of action for the I&I where we're doing all this investment and they're aware of that and it seems to be sufficient. The true test will be next spring after we get done with all this. You know, we're spending about $3 million this year on I&I. By next spring, we're going to be able to go out and do flow testing to see what that $3 million bought us. So that's really where the proof in the pudding is. So,
I'm sorry to act ignorant on this. Can you summarize, like, what? What? Because I'm ignorant on this?
You released the word, remember that you was saying, well, where did you
The
release
poop?
it to?
Yeah, no, I got that part. I got the solid part, but I don't understand, is it because we don't have appropriate pipes in place to have like the appropriate drainage, or where you have too much coming through our plant that we're having to, I don't quite understand
this year,
the problem that we're trying to tackle.
the problem is our
Explain to him what I&I is.
I&I
That's
is,
the question.
yeah, I&I is inflow and infiltration. That is stormwater, rainwater entering into your sewer system, which then you have to treat.
Okay.
So what happened last year was, dude, we had so much rain. We already have an I&I issue, and our plant can only take 12 million gallons.
So more water coming in than we can take care of.
Exactly, and that water is coming in that we shouldn't have to treat, unfortunately. But being it's entering our sewer system, it's attacking our plant, and therefore it's an operating expense as well.
A lot of houses down in the historic district, they still got the petrified clay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's still some asbestos pipe.
Right, but I don't understand, if the more pipes you fix,
Once,
just the more water that's gonna run into your.
We can only fix the
when it
mains.
rains.
The laterals that are going, I mean, that's probably one of the biggest issues right there, that would be up, I guess, to the homeowner.
Yeah, but I got that, but I don't understand, like, the more we fix or the more that we repair or whatever, it's just more water into our plant, right?
No,
No,
because every
no,
time it
because the
rains,
idea is
the
we're
stormwater
doing-
is actually infiltrating into the sanitary sewer system.
We're doing, yeah.
Pipes are in bad shape.
Pipes are
They
bad
have
shape,
leakage.
yeah,
That's why
and we're
you get
relining them,
filtration.
we're relining the pipes, we're redoing the manholes, so like I said, the proof will be next spring when we do flow testing. Because the whole idea, when we got with the consent order, we broke up the town in different basins. And certain basins are worse than others, and so the DEQ has prioritized those basins. So we are working on 3 different basins that mainly are critically the older parts of town, obviously. And so those are the basins that we are focused on trying to make repair.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, whoever briefed us, I can't remember who briefed us on that, but when he's talking about the basins and we're fixing the basins, that's on town property. It's my understanding, my recollection, the major issues are coming from the town property line to the sewer line of the toilets or whatever, the house. So it's on the citizens' property where they have these old pipes and you have storm drains tied into the pipes and whatnot, but the pipes are deteriorating at the homeowners, on the homeowner's property. So an I&I issue is, what are we gonna do? What's our plan for getting with homeowners and getting homeowners to allow whomever or however to get in and fix pipes on their properties?
I don't think you can do a liner in those, though, can you, Joe?
You can now.
Can you?
They're coming out with new
You can do a
methods
line.
to do it.
Yeah.
They can actually even do cast iron now, and it's what they do is they go in and expand it, and then they blow the liner back into them.
There are two problems, and you're right. One is the customer line, service line, and then it's our system. But our system, we have some big leaks, trust me. We are putting some money to fix those. So to me, yeah, you know, you got two problems. You have the customer side and we have our side, but you know, I do believe we're gonna have to go that extra step eventually and cross over and try to bridge a gap and try to get those repaired. But I don't know if the town wants to take that on right now because of the investment that we're putting in our own infrastructure.
Is,
What we should say is, I'm
It
sorry,
needs to be listed.
it needs to be listed. In 10 years, we're gonna execute a plan for the customer. Whatever that plan is, whether we start saving 100,000 a year, or 200,000 a year, or go out and find a bond. But in 10 years, at some point, we're gonna have to fix, I guess we need an overall strategy for
Right,
how we're
develop
gonna
an
fix.
overall
An
plan
overall plan for
on how to resolve the I&I issues.
Because look, our primary responsibility, we're a service entity. I mean, that's, you know, we're a public works service entity. And if we have pipes that are deteriorating, we've gotta come up with a system and a plan to
Joe, how many mains are we replacing compared to how many we are lining?
Chris, I wish I could give you that answer,
I
but
mean,
I
is it
don't
like a
have it.
50-50 or in other words, is the contractor we have doing this work, do they do both? Or do they do the liners and we do the replacement?
We have a contractor that does the liners, then we'll put the replacements out to bid.
Really, it's cheaper to do a liner because you don't have to worry about cutting streets up, repairing streets, whatever.
Right, but what I was gonna say is, would it be cheaper for us? Are we able to replace those ourselves instead of putting it out for bid? Would it be cheaper?
It's cheaper just to do what we used to call.
I'm saying when it needs to be
centrifugal.
replaced, would it be
Yeah.
cheaper for us to do it in-house instead of putting it out for bid?
Would be cheaper in-house.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Why can't we try to save money doing it like that? Put that money towards something else or
But if you
the
don't have-
laterals, you know, like the laterals from the customers. Why can't we put that money that we're saving towards that if we can? Instead of waiting 10 years down the
The
road.
problem is though, Chris, is every year, if you've repaired this system here, next year this system gets a little worse.
Well, that's what I'm
And then
saying
that's
though.
just-
If we did it in-house, if we had to go out and replace, why don't we do it in-house and save money?
When I was here, we spent $10 million on I&I, and we corrected a lot of lines, we put more integrity in them. But that's an ongoing process. And if you look at Front Royal, and anybody who drives around when you have a large rain, come down the bypass, you'll see the water.
Oh, I know that.
up
That's
out.
been like that for years. It's-
Water comes into your lowest points because that's where it flows into the system. So that's where you need to really look at your overall infrastructure. And then when you go from there and you begin getting those things, and then you begin to branch out. When you get those done, then eventually, if we ever have enough money, then you'll see a big reduction in your I&I going into your sewer.
Right, but the thing I'm talking about, I understand all that, but what I'm saying is, in order for us to do more, to do more, we can save by doing some of this in-house instead of putting it out for bid. Just like they were saying, you know, we have to do replacements, we put it out for bid. Well, I put it out for bid, we got, you know, Public Works Department. I mean, are we just there to go out and patch potholes?
I can look at it, I can do an analysis to see if it's cost effective. To some degree, when you get out and you get a lot of work, it's cost effective to contract that out. But we can take a look at that. And one thing I'll have to do is assess my staff as well to see
If they're not trained, let's train them. We don't go out and hire people off the street just to, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
We want to take
But
and
let
keep
me
them
go
here.
back and see what the activity of my staff is and we can handle something like that. Because the problem with that is once you start cutting open a road, you gotta get to it and you can't do nothing else but that.
Well, we can do sections at a time.
Yeah, I understand, yeah, I'm not.
That's what they're
I'm
doing
not-
now, I
yeah.
mean,
Or hire a FTE or two more.
Learned it,
That money we can save, that money we save doing it in-house, we can hire more employees.
Replace it and repair it.
Right by Mountain Pot, is that?
Yeah, man, that's for all of you.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like there's pavement right there.
That's contracted out.
Yeah.
All right.
Because it's gonna sit around, nobody's business.
Jellyfish. Is this good? I think that, you know,
Who's gonna?
I'm gonna,
I'll do it.
I'll do it.
Gary and Chris.
flip going.
We'll tag team.
No, we got plenty more for you. We got plenty more.
I really do believe that this is gonna take some time. Also, while we're concurrently dealing with DEQ and the consent order, I feel good, I feel comfortable that we could put something together and have some action steps and a long-range plan by the end of the year.
Doesn't our engineers, it's gonna be, don't they recommend certain lines and all that?
Oh, yeah,
They used
yeah.
to.
Yeah.
That they would say this line needs, because this is a problem here.
Right, we have done all the in-house cammering ourselves instead of contract it out because we have the staff. So we've been doing it, we've been filtering all that data to us. They come back after they evaluate all the videos and stuff, and they give us recommendations of what to do if it needs to be replaced or relining or whatever else. So, is everybody good with the end of the year on this one?
Who's owning it?
Well, that's,
Chris?
I'll do it.
I'm not.
Sorry, Gary.
okay.
Gary.
All right,
Y'all need a break? Everybody good?
One more, let's get one more.
Yeah, one more will take.
all right, pet safety. Now, I would start out to let y'all know, as part of what me and Bill have been working on is one, we've got two hot areas in town, obviously. One is on South Street, the other is North Shenandoah. And one of the biggest keys that we have discovered is lighting is a big issue because a lot of the incidents happen at dusk and dawn. And is obviously also the most busiest time that this town encounters with flux of traffic. So just to let y'all know, we put in a revenue sharing 50-50 for putting taller lights up on North Shenandoah to correct that issue. There basically would be the same light design that's on the bridges. We'd be just carried through.
I like that.
And so we've submitted that to VDOT for revenue sharing for 50-50 for next year.
That's great.
I like that better than a stoplight.
What are we doing with South Street?
South Street, the material has been put on order. Right now, I think we're looking at end of October for the pedestrian equipment on South Street. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting pedestrian crossings at every crosswalk along South Street. And so they're not designed to stop traffic, but they're designed to warn traffic to slow down and stop and yield to the pedestrians.
I was concerned about the lighting on
And the
South
lighting.
Street.
We have provided some more lighting through there. It has helped some. I've had the PD come by and look at it. They looked at it prior or right after that incident.
Yeah.
We went back and we installed some more lighting on that road. But at the end of the day, to get additional lighting, we're going to almost have to do something like what we're looking at North Shenandoah and put some investment in it. One of my recommendations for South Street is there was a study done, South Street study, that had numerous recommendations on calming measures, and actually one of the recommendations was moving the traffic light that's currently there at Martin's and McDonald's south because it's a big issue right there with those fast food restaurants entering and exiting right there at that busy intersection makes it a hazard.
We have money in the budget right now for a different type of safety sign.
Right.
Instead of this breaker light, it'll buzz around like this. It's a new design that's come out, and it's not available until September, I think was the date. The other thing is, Joe talks about softening the traffic. Well, he and I both sat in that class where redesign of the crosswalks. I remember I told you all about looking at the flow of traffic, and instead of it being this way, it's an angle, it's like a V. So you're looking at traffic both ways. It's especially on these 4 lanes. So we need to implement some of these.
Bill, going back to the project out there, we're getting ready to overlay that area eventually, after all this water line. We need to make sure that plan's in effect before we put in crosswalks in and follow the plan that you're referring to. The same thing with any infrastructure. If you need any conduits laid or anything like that for the electrical, you need to make sure that's all done before we put that new asphalt down out on Shenandoah Avenue. Because that's gonna happen in what, the next 30 days, 60 days?
Right,
So
yeah.
whoever's looking at this project, if it's electrical, then we need to do more conduit, we need to get it in before we overlay.
Right.
I don't wanna see us overlaying and come right back and dig it up again.
Right, and I fully agree with you, Gene, and I don't think that's gonna be an issue. We have electrical on both sides of the street there on North Shenandoah.
But if you're talking about, some type of pedestrian crossing light,
Right, well, we've backed off
See what I
the, we've backed off the mid-block crossing on North Shenandoah. And the only reason that we've taken a back step on that is because of Sheets coming. And Sheets is gonna be taking over Shenandoah Motel. And we feel that that may resolve the issue of people crossing over to go to Speedway.
Is that affirmative now?
They have submitted a site plan.
okay.
Because I was gonna say, I came up through Shenandoah Avenue the other day, and a gentleman come from our Speedway now, and he was jogging in and out of traffic, and then when I came back through later, an ambulance was there, so I'm like, people put themselves in those positions a lot of times, but.
Yeah, we do believe that once Sheets comes, that's gonna solve that issue because there will be, the convenience store will be available on that side as well.
We were briefed that there is electrical conduit enough to do what we're doing.
Well, I remember we put it in and we put the new streetlights in. I know we haven't, so we shouldn't have to put any whole lot of infrastructure in other than replacing the poles.
Yeah,
Maybe the base.
yeah, the lights are, actually, they'll be spaced further apart most likely.
So there will be some digging.
There will be some digging involved.
But it's gonna be behind the.
It'll be behind the curb line, yes, sir.
Sidewalk.
It'll be behind the curb line.
Between the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Joe, I'd like, as part of the pedestrian safety, I'd like for this council to review the recommendation that was made for softening the traffic, and particularly because there's dual benefit in my mind. One, softening the traffic, moving the stoplight. I always liked that. I thought that was a good idea. But there was also recommendations of how, I mean, obviously more complicated, but getting a little bit more curb out of the plan with some beautifications along the road as people are going up to Skyline and stuff like that. Again, a little bit more complicated, but I think it could help with the lighting, the curb, softening the traffic pattern, moving the light would help with pedestrian safety on that street.
Okay, so,
So I don't know how much of this council actually saw that plan, besides Gene and myself. But Bevan, I think, was championing that, wasn't she?
I think so, yeah.
And I think it kind of hit a dead end because the final recommendation was we're gonna have to get a few more feet out of each side of the street, and that was gonna be pretty difficult to do.
so we're gonna reevaluate the South Street plan.
It's pretty cool. I mean, it would make it gorgeous through there, but
by
That would
September
slow down
30th.
I call it Indy Raceway.
well, there's some
Red
red
light changes, they're off and running.
Goal is to reevaluate the South Street plan by September 30th. And the reason we can get this on a work session in September, but it's important to get this out prior to the budget so that we know if we need to incorporate anything. Who's going to champion this?
Bill?
I got it.
Bill?
Well, you want to split that? Do you want Natasha? She's been hot on South Street. Do you want to champion pedestrian safety and have Natasha concentration on South Street?
Works for me.
You good with that?
Good with that?
Did you ever see that plan?
Joe, did we get a
No,
copy
I
of
don't
all
know.
that?
There's some
nice renderings and stuff like
that.
On the South Street? Yeah, I will,
No, I have it somewhere on my iPad.
I'll make a note.
That stopped it.
I'll make a note to send that.
Be good if we could get some hard copies.
Okay.
Here's something I'm gonna throw this out, just last point. I don't know how you prevent people from not walking in pedestrians, where they're supposed to be walking. Crosswalks. I mean, they're always gonna go from point A to point B, wherever they come out of their house or whatever they come out of their
Shortest
business.
space.
Shortest distance, and, I mean, I just want, I agree, we need better pedestrian safety, but I just don't know what, at what
That's why we
point,
developed
at what
the
point do we say, you know,
jaywalking rules in town.
But you can't do
Can't we have an
so much.
yeah,
officer?
that's what I'm saying.
This is nationwide.
Oh,
You know, this is nationwide, and I think the best we can do is just keep focused. I got the PD, they're out there educating. I mean, they're doing a senior driving training this week, and they're gonna emphasize pedestrian safety. They go to the young drivers in the high schools and they talk about pedestrian safety. They go to daycares, because kids, you know, they need to be educated as well what to look for and stuff. But, you know, the biggest thing is we just gotta tell our drivers to slow down, because, you know, that is, you know, you see that most of pedestrian incidents happen at dusk and dawn, and it's rush hour.
But those drivers weren't, a lot of those cases that happened recently weren't speeding drivers.
No, they weren't.
drivers.
They
So it's a lack of visibility.
couldn't-
with
Lack of
lighting.
visibility due to this, yeah.
It's the last person that's it.
But it's the heavy traffic where they have to end up dodging in and out of traffic. And ignoring basically the crosswalk, because it's 15 and 20 feet
I
down.
mean, I'm a big fan of, I like Jake's idea and Gene's, beautifying South Street, beautifying Shenandoah Avenue, at the same time pedestrian safety can be incorporated in it. I mean, I think that's a big bonus to our community.
Two highly traveled roads.
Yeah.
Coming into our
All
community.
right, so we got one goal for South Street. Do we want to develop a goal for pedestrian safety?
In addition to what's already been done,
Now, remember though, we've got currently working improvements on South Street for the pedestrian crossings. And we're working, addressing the North Shenandoah. So those are our two hotspots as far as I'm concerned.
I think that's enough at this point.
I agree, I'm good.
there was one comment that Tasha had about,
Speed bumps on Kirkwood.
Speed bumps. Gene says speed bumps are illegal.
They are illegal except on a private road into a subdivision.
Well, they're illegal all over Virginia.
Well, I don't know about that.
you're
They're down
talking,
right
you're talking
there.
the main road.
There is
You
some
can put-
grading.
You can put rubble strips in, but you cannot put a speed bump. That's illegal
That's
in
spike
state.
strips.
State VDOT will not even consider it.
Okay,
If it's a
rumble strips.
subdivision, it's private, you can put all you want to.
I guess that,
Parking lots, whatever.
Unless it's a homeowners, a homeowners.
What's on Road 50, those two little towns right there that they have.
They're rumble strips.
Rubble strips, yeah. That's legal.
What is that?
What,
like,
do you know anything about
Like 6 or 8 strips.
speed bumps are illegal or
You
not?
go,
I do know
They
that,
last 2
Where's Doug
seasons.
at?
I don't know if,
I can tell you they're illegal, I know that.
it's important to find out what VDOT's requirements are, because they do give us money for maintenance of our roads.
Okay.
And if we violate that, for example, for Leech Run Parkway, we're getting that put into the inventory for, we'll get reimbursement for maintenance of that road. But if that road's not built to the spec, they won't pay for it. So it's important for us to do our due diligence. But I can make that as an action item. I can make that as an action item if you want, Chris, to follow up on speed bumps to verify.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with her because there's hundreds of children there on the weekends, especially during soccer season. And cars do fly up and down through there. But there is no stop sign.
That's it almost should be like a designated corridor, or if there's a way to create like they call it like a sanitary district or something like that to make special exceptions for it. But that road, I'll agree, cars, they drag race through there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
And they would keep going if it wasn't for that sharp turn there. I'm surprised.
Then you've got the parking too, so you
Yeah.
can see around the cars.
Yeah, plus they open up their car
We need to get
doors.
the county up putting curb and gutter on there too.
You know what? That should have been done
That should
when
have
they
been
redid all that.
Okay,
That should have been done.
Where?
I agree. The soccer fields. When they redid all them soccer, I mean, it was it Big Stump or Stump Park, whatever?
Do you all want to make that as a goal?
Which part?
Kerfoot,
Yes.
Yes,
in front of the soccer field.
yes. at least rumble.
As part of pedestrian safety, I think it's been brought up a few times, just like we need,
Develop a safety plan.
I'm telling you, the first time, I mean, any life loss is a tragedy, but the first time a child runs out and gets hit, it's gonna be bad news there.
That's gonna be why they will do something about it. Doug, are speed bumps still legal in Virginia?
Are they illegal?
Illegal?
As far as I know, they're illegal.
They're illegal?
As far as I know.
I should have asked you.
I'll check, but that was my understanding.
Did he say illegal or
He
legal?
said illegal.
I'll find out for you.
What do you think?
I think we made up a lot of time, it's great.
Yeah. No, this action item, when do you want to get back on this? I was thinking maybe, this is a hot item, so maybe 30, 60 days, what do you
I
think?
say 30 days.
30 days?
We'll put in a lot, 60 days, like
Well, the soccer starts up
next week.
There you go.
So 7 days.
So Bill, Kasha, who's going to champion this, Bill or
I'll take Kerfoot.
you'll take that one as well? Okay. All right.
What was
Jellyfish.
the date on that, Joe?
Huh?
Kerfoot, what is the date?
Oh, September 19th.
Thank you.
Are we good?
Yep.
We'll put a list together and get it out to council tomorrow on what all this is.
Tell you how many times the council member gets jellyfished.
Y'all good, or you need a 5-minute break?
5-minute break, please.
5-minute recess. So we're on Happy Creek next?
Yep.
And that's, we're slated to be there by 7:20, so that's not bad. That's actually not bad considering our late start.
Yeah.
Y'all ready?
Oh, sir.
Okay, let's go.
All right. Next area is Happy Creek. This would include housing as well as the road. To let you know what we're doing for Happy Creek Phase 2, we are currently working on an RFP to get the design of this road done. Last year, we submitted in the Smart Scale funding for Happy Creek Phase 2, and we didn't score well at all, and we received $0 in funding. So Smart Scale happens every 2 years, so we got another year. So the idea is to improve our score so that we can get funding. And what's critical about Smart Scale is it's different than the revenue sharing, is it's fully supported. There is no contribution on the town's end. So the more we can improve our score and the more that we can achieve those funds through VDOT, the less our taxpayers will have to pay.
So what do we do to improve our score?
Number one is we got to get we got to get a design of the road, so that we know what our costs are, Then we can start working on easements and acquiring easements along Happy Creek area. So there's a lot of stuff that has to happen, even though we probably wouldn't start construction until 2025, 2026 most likely. But there's so many other steps that have to happen. The problem is we haven't got off the first step yet, and that's what we're working on now, and that's the RFP for the road design. The road has been designed, but maybe 20 years ago. It's in metrics. We can't find a soft copy. All we got is a paper copy. And needless to say, 20 years old, it needs to be re-looked at and re-engineered.
So what do we,
I think we need to get the design. I would like to make a plan to improve our score. I mean, I won't rehash all this, but I've been very vocal about the fact that with the middle school there, with Leach Run there, and now with ambulance going to start frequently, that road. That's going to become an even bigger issue going through that turn.
yeah.
The first EMS to go through there and crash into an oncoming car is going to be a disaster.
Yeah, that was brought up to me too, with the S-curve in that road.
I hate to
so
see it
we're
take
gonna-
that long to have something done with that.
We're going to develop
Like having the plan.
There's a plan, right? Start doing that with it till like 2025 or 6 or something.
Is that the date?
what?
you think it's gonna, let's ask you this, if we were to resubmit to the state for revenue share or develop a plan, resubmit, what's the timeline they were realistically looking?
2025 probably, 2026.
5 years out?
It's crazy.
Unless we pay,
Right.
unless we pay for.
Anything we can do with that.
I thought we already had a plan, a phased plan.
Like I said, the engineering drawings are over 20 years old. They're in metric. We can only have a paper copy, so now we have to redesign the whole thing. Because you figure 20-year standards have changed. They don't do metrics anymore. They were pushing it back then, and everything else. And ownership of land's changed. And
That was done in 88.
88. Oh,
$12 million increase in price tag.
Yeah,
on it, too.
exactly.
Right now.
I'll champion that if you want, but the front row of P2 is, we can get those housing going out there.
Joe, the Furl,
RLP.
Limited partnership?
the limited partnership, there were some proffers that was presented, that was approved, so he could do that development. If you go back and get Jeremy to look at those, because I know there was some improvements on Happy Creek Road.
I was part of that, I was on planning commission when that was happening, but I saw stuff for potential flyway, if that was ever done, but nothing to straighten out Happy Creek. And it doesn't even touch Mary Shady. There's no proffers in for that. A lot of it, the proffers were on the on the Shenandoah Shore side of things.
That was on the second and third phase too.
That's right.
Coming in.
I thought there was some there in 606. And since we did the Leech Run Parkway, I just wondered.
That was the second and third phase.
I think there was something related to I don't want to call it the overpass of the
I
bridge.
don't remember something about it.
If the road was executed to go straight down to the redesign of Shenandoah Shores.
So staff's gonna develop a plan to how we can improve our score and funding for Happy Creek. We're gonna put this together and present it to council by October 30th.
That's good for the date, but are we gonna be able to get any money through VDOT on our money that we have set aside in, trying to think of the word. We have money set aside each year in the state urban development. Can we get urban money? Could we check the state to see if they would pay for part of this? Because I know there's some money left in that project.
I'll have to do some investigating with Gene. Maybe we can talk offline. I'm not 100% sure where.
I think you'd have to get in touch with the urban development in Richmond in order to find out for sure. But I know that each year we accrue so much money by population in that urban division.
And they could help us acquire the right of ways.
Yeah.
And then that's all dealing with funding, so yeah, got it. All right. I'll just put that there for my notes. So yeah, there shouldn't be a problem for staff to put together a plan on how we, I know what the sequences are, but we'll put them in writing so that everybody knows where we're at. And Gary, you're gonna task that. All right, so that takes care of Happy Creek Road Phase 2.
So the goal of it is to get it as 100% funded as possible.
Right.
As quickly as possible.
And as quickly as possible. So it's money and time. Because in all honesty, this is overdue for the simple fact the school and the hospital is getting out in front of us on that.
Does it improve our score to partner with the county and the ask because of what's out there? No.
Well, no, we are looking at every avenue. It's almost like grant writing to get funding through
Okay.
VDOT. So that's what, we're going to take a different tack this time. We're going to maybe get somebody else to help us write this in a grant type of format. But yeah, we are already currently doing this. We're already evaluating how we can better our score. So we'll formalize it in writing.
I think you ought to consider pulling in Valley Health as well. Because between the county and Valley Health together, putting in their reasons for the money.
Okay. Yep.
And Valley Health has grant writers. Maybe that could be their contribution to this. You good?
That's the road. Now, does anybody want to talk about housing development? It was mentioned on one of the goals as well in the Happy Creek area.
Which housing development
Don't
specifically?
disclose.
Which housing development specifically? Or
Oh,
just
it was so
development in
general in the goals. It was just talking about Happy Creek area. So I got some roads and I got housing. And so I didn't know where that was going. Maybe it was all on roads, but I didn't know
I
if,
guess the roads would depend on the housing, wouldn't it?
yeah. I mean, I know we've got quite a few developments out there that are platted, but there's no movement, but, you know, I don't know.
I'll tell you the impression I get about that. Platted, no movement. This, what I have been told by someone who has a large platted property in the town limits is that about 10 years ago, town council went through a very, maybe it's longer than 10 years ago, 15 years ago, no growth stage. And the regulations that they were put in place really took away the economic ability for people to build affordable houses because of all the requirements that were put in as far as the road widths and other parameters that were put in to make it so restrictive that it just didn't make sense to do these projects. So I think if we're going to evaluate anything in Happy Creek area, we've got to consider evaluating some of our ordinances.
Subdivision ordinance?
Subdivision ordinances and planned urban development ordinances, or whatever you call it, to make sure we are, reasonable. I think that's the biggest thing I heard. I mean, I sat down with one individual. I sat here, and that person sat right there where Gene was, and I took it for about 12 to 15 minutes. I took it because that person was just not happy whatsoever. And, we've got Bill frequently talking, all of you talking about workforce housing. Well, these people aren't going to, if our ordinances are such that they can't come in and put workforce housing in and make a reasonable ROI, they're just going to sit on it. And that's what I think's happened.
This one's a big one. So we're going to reevaluate the P&D and subdivision ordinances.
Can we give that to planning commission?
They work at your pleasure. I mean, that is what they're designed to do. If you want to.
Well, but I think we need to give them some
Well,
guidance.
yeah, you have to
because-
give them the.
But I mean, as far as the
charge.
workload, to evaluate and do.
So we're going to reevaluate ordinances, or shall we say,
How do we make this as user
I tell you what I'd
friendly
like to
as
do, I'd like
possible?
to have the planning commission, I'd like to see a committee of 3 developers or 2 developer representatives and engineers or some, because here's what happens, I think a lot of times, and I'm not finger pointing the planning commission, but you get a certain group of people on planning commission that has a certain philosophical idea of growth and of what they want to see, and all of a sudden now you get something to come out of the planning commission that is just not our intent. I want to find a happy compromise, a happy medium between what the developers want and what, in the best case scenario, our planning commission and maybe our town council wants. I mean, I think there needs to be a group put together to have this dialogue. There's one individual in particular I could think of who spent a lot of time with Jeremy on it. I think Jeremy's even recognized some changes that could be made.
I think it's a good idea, especially with a developer or two in that committee, because they're going to give their input on, what's really affordable
Yeah.
for them to
Yeah,
put in.
you're
because
asking me to put a-
Why are you going to put in,
Right.
like a $15 million infrastructure when,
When I can do it for 7, it's only, this is how good it's gonna look for
Yeah.
7.
So-
Now I have $8 million to spend in lighting
Yeah,
or
so-
pedestrian safety or.
so we're going to establish a committee? Is that what I'm hearing?
Why don't we get a committee together, put something together and bring it to council?
And then we could task it to the planning commission if you want. I'm good with that.
What's your pleasure?
Silence is consent.
Sounds good to me. Jay?
Well, I'm kind of in the corner here. I've heard two different things.
I was just gonna say, can you summarize it one more time and I would say yes or no?
I mean, I've heard referred to the planning committee, and then I've heard established possibly a staff/citizen committee to address it. I mean, what's
Why
council?
couldn't we get,
As Mayor Teacher was saying, let's get some of these builders and sit down with our planning commission, and maybe they can go over what works and what don't. See if they can get something written up that would satisfy all sides involved and bring it to us by the end of October, maybe.
Okay, so we're gonna.
I don't think we'll do it by October.
why don't we get some of these developers,
End of December, end of
Yeah.
December.
and a couple of
We have time to do all that.
commission members together, let them get together, and then after that, after they get something that they all agree on, then take it to the planning commission. Because if you have a couple of planning commission members there, along with the 2 or 3 developers, builders, I'm sure they'd probably work something out, then take it to the rest of the planning commission. Let them see their proposal, whatever, if they all agree or disagree, let them make changes if they can, then they can bring it to us.
Okay, I like it. Chris Holloway's gonna spearhead it.
Yep.
You,
And we're gonna have him.
let me say this, you gotta get with VDOT, because VDOT's got standards that we have to follow.
Well, that'll be,
Side, width street of the streets, if they're primary, secondary,
Sure.
or whatever.
why don't we have Jeremy Camp in on that committee?
I think if you look at subdivision ordinance, it's already got those requirements in it. showing what
We can have Jeremy there to make sure that nothing's,
How do you get VDOT to make exceptions? How does that work?
It's hard.
Is it?
Yeah. But they have guidelines set down by the general assembly on our street paper.
Right.
If it doesn't, it's not built by the state, their criteria, then you don't get street meters.
Right.
Primary road, you gotta have at least a minimum 6-foot right of way, 40-foot streets.
All right, so we got to establish a committee to address P&D and subdivisions, ordinances by, and this is just to get the committee established.
Get your time.
give me,
Committee could get established by end of September.
yeah, September 30th.
You gotta get people involved.
September, October, November.
But,
And Chris is champion this one?
Yeah. And then say preliminary report end of January. Is that possible?
I think so. Yeah.
Committee will provide report by, did you say January 30th?
Yeah.
That's also, together.
Looks good. Anything else? What's next?
Health insurance.
Health insurance.
Another plan. I'll start it. I think we need, the easiest thing I can think of is we need to have a plan to get to, or to maintain or get to a certain dollar spend over, a 2-3 year period. So if we're spending $2 million today on health insurance benefits for our staff, or a certain benefit dollar per person, per staff member, then we need to have a plan of what our appetite is for annual escalations in our insurance benefits. For instance, if an annual escalation is 20%, how are we adjusting our plan more than just changing are more than just increasing our cost of insurance to the town budget. Does that make sense? If it's gonna be, if there's a 20% increase, what are we gonna do to adjust the plan to offset 15% of that and stay to a 5% escalator, and make plan benefit changes? I think we need to have a plan related to that.
Why wouldn't the plan be to allow no more than a 5% increase? I mean, that's normally the way you would say it. Then if your second statement would come back in, then how do we offset any additional cost?
The reason why I said a 3-year plan is because you could have a year that spikes, let's say 10%, and the following year maybe 3% an increase. And so if you ride a couple of years and you take the hit and you hope the next year gets better, great. If it does, then you can say status quo. If it doesn't, you have to have a plan to shift benefits.
I thought we'd already agreed to something, to the fact that we was gonna put a pool of money and then leave it up to Joe to make those decisions. That's what we decided last year at the budget.
I think what he's saying is, he doesn't want to see any more than 5% increase.
Well, I agree, that's what I say.
In any given year. That there's got to be more than VML insurance, or a look at the policies altogether, or other alternatives.
No, so let me take a step back to when I first got on council. I think we've already gone down, and you can totally chime in on this, but I think we've gone down the road of looking at other insurance plans. I think we've gone down the road of looking at different plan styles. I think we've gone down the road of looking at different deductibles. And I would venture to say that it's a shared opinion that it's next to impossible to get this group to decide on what direction to give. And I think at the end of the day, this last time, is my perception of it was that, we got close to, plan changes and deductibles, but ultimately the budget didn't get the vote we needed to get to where we could fund fully the plan to stay the same, and there had to be changes, which I think Joe made a decision on where those changes went because of the dollars that were allocated. My thought is, now that we know we've already done all these challenges every single year, I think we give the direction of how much we're willing to spend on our plan benefits, increases whatever that might be. I'm open to suggestions on that, and allow Joe to work with Julie and the team to adjust benefits as appropriate to meet the expectation, if that makes sense.
So you're talking about in totality, if it's $2 million today, is that our limit? Or do you want to see a reduction?
So that's the plan that I think needs to be part, because I can't remember the total percent of our general fund budget. Health insurance is 20-some%, 30%. I don't
That's phenomenal.
somewhere in that area. So I think it's one of the bigger discussion points to give direction, a plan to give direction on total dollar spend. Allow Joe to work with his team to figure out how to accomplish that goal with the plan benefits. I don't want to be in the business of carving out the plan, I guess is what I'm saying.
One of the problems that we deal with VML Health Insurance is that last year we did not have a good year. We had a lot of claims. We had quite a bit of write-off, and that's why we saw the double-digit increase in healthcare. Unfortunately, the plan that we're in, we're kind of looking at the end of a shotgun barrel in February to see where we land. And it's an uncomfortable feeling because you don't know what the impact it's going to be on all our employees. It's not a good place to be.
But every company faces that on their annual benefit plans. They get their actuaries, or if they're self-insured, total spend, and then open enrollment is a period right before open enrollment. They have to make adjustments to the plan of what they can offer their employees in order to mitigate those costs.
How competitive, how much competition is there in the VML plan?
What do you mean by that?
Self-insured.
Well, my point is, I guess, have we looked into self-insuring with the county and the school board?
No, I think actually the county and them just they were off VML insurance, and I think they just last year or two went back to VML insurance.
I think it'd be worth looking at the school board, county employees in town of what the possibility is self-insuring and what the cost could be. That's a pretty big pool.
Matt, that's why I'm making a recommendation. Give direction, let them figure out the options, let them as in Joe and his team figure out the options that sticks within that particular budget.
Well, the direction is $2
cost.
million in health insurance is absurd. I mean, that's just,
On a $50 million budget.
I mean, are you confident that you and staff have exhausted all possibilities of relates to reducing the health insurance?
No, I mean, honestly, we'll look at it this year. If the increase comes more than what council will commit to, we'll have to adjust contributions to the employees and it's the only thing we have to do at this point.
But is that the fair, I appreciate that, but is that the only option? Meaning, if we were to look at something really, we gotta go outside the box with this health insurance stuff.
Right, and if,
Self-insuring with the three entities, whether it's health savings plans, do we have health savings plans? You know, could we come up with a plan that the county's gonna pay, you know, if we go to a higher premium, a higher deductible plan that's gonna cost X, that we set X number of dollars aside in a health emergency fund, and we'll pay the X percentage of the premium. I mean, I think we're gonna have to be really creative to try to find ways of driving down this cost. And without employees, our employees, you know, I think there's studies done, our employees are not making above average wages in their jobs compared to other jurisdictions. And I mean, we have some employees that are barely getting by, and then all of a sudden you're going to be increasing their health insurance, you know, premiums. You know,
I personally, I think the only way, if you want to take an exit ramp away from BML insurance, and we really got to seriously contemplate that, because once you leave the program, you can't come back. I mean, they've made that perfectly clear.
so in other words, they got us hostage.
Well,
Well, the county just went back though.
yeah, the county went back. Yeah, you're right. So, I mean, there's not 100% truth to that. In my opinion, if we really want to get a handle on this, I'm going to have to bring in some expert. I'm going to have to bring in some technical help. This is a bigger animal than I can rely on staff to evaluate.
You're not the expert in the area.
That's right.
There's gotta be experts out there that know what.
I mean, I know when I first took over the position, there was already an RFP out there that just kind of fizzled. I don't, you know, so.
I've been saying that for a couple of years too, about looking at self-insurance. It's definitely, if we can get with the school board and the county, and maybe we can pull together, I definitely think it's worth looking into, Joe, without question.
I think this went to one of your rules to be a little bit more courageous about what I'm saying, but this is right as Joe was coming on. There was an RFP that was designed to go out and do this, Matt, for the exact recommendation that Joe just made, and I'm completely supportive of that. But in my opinion, it was torpedoed before it got off the ground by staff, because I think they knew what was going to happen with this, and here we are, this period of time later, where we're back in the same boat. We need an RFP, but my fear would be if we did it, that, you know, there's some alternative plans or options that we're just going to be back in the same boat.
But I do think this is the time to have the discussion, because what happens is we prolong that discussion until budget time.
January.
Yeah, and then we have no choice. So this is the time to determine how we want to move forward.
I think we need an
healthcare.
RFP on the street immediately to evaluate our options.
Cigna, that's one to have to call.
So we're going to issue an
We
RFP
had a broker come in and do this too.
for healthcare services. In 45 days?
What do you think, Gene?
You're going to brush off the old RFP, I assume. Yeah, I think so.
No, nothing about health insurance, that's for sure.
So Jason's
Is-
card?
45 days, task staff to get an RFP out on the street. And I'd pushing it, I think we probably may want to tighten it to 30.
I was gonna
No,
say.
BJ's gonna, but I think 30, because I gotta get out, I gotta get somebody engaged, I gotta find the funding, and I gotta get, yeah, there's a lot of legwork, but this is the time to talk about it.
One point that I would really stress in this RFP, well, I don't know if it's in the RFP, but I think we need to specify the possibility of self-insuring.
Oh, I think, I agree.
And then secondly, how creative can we be with a health, I don't know what you call it, not a health savings plan.
It's like
Yeah, the health-
HSA.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
health
he-
savings account. yeah.
Health savings
That's what it's
account,
called,
yeah.
health savings.
How creative can we be with that? Because again, the goal's not to punish the employees.
That was also discussed last time, and as long as we were paired with VML, I think that was a tougher thing to do. But yeah, I think it would be great. I think that's the route to do to mitigate. HSAs mitigate the initial out-of-pocket expense, so it allows you to go to a higher deductible plan,
Save money.
save money, but if somebody needs to use it, they use an HSA to offset the higher deductible, which can be completely funded by the town,
Correct,
so that no money comes out of the employee's pocket.
Correct.
Even though we're using higher deductible plans.
correct. Yeah.
We even have to ask who's gonna champion this one.
Gary.
Jake, Jake.
As every town employee.
Jake's the insurance guru.
Today.
Jake
All right.
gets mad at me every
All right,
year.
good. Thank you.
Healthcare, I think this really will address council's issues on the overall cost.
I think number 2 on that, Joe, would be at the end of that, obviously the evaluation work, we went through that process. At the end of the day, you need direction during the budget on what to do with this. And I think it needs to be dollar direction on health insurance spend. I think that is probably the ultimate goal of this. Because we're probably not gonna be able to make a plan change, right, for budget?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think
For us to exit out,
exit out of VML, start a new insurer, I
right,
think, I
would
don't think
have
that's
to
gonna
happen by February.
Thereabouts.
We have time.
Okay.
It all depends how quickly we can engage and get working on it, and where it takes us. Because I do believe that we have to address even the issues that Matt brought up about, is there some synergy to work with the county and the school board, because it's a bigger pool? Do they have an appetite? I mean, these are things that we will have to explore.
So I think the end goal is the mitigation of increased health insurance costs for staff. That's the goal we're trying to accomplish.
Right.
Okay, good. 8:15, still rolling.
Record one west. Right?
Yep. What are you looking for here? I mean, we're not driving this thing.
It was
I
on
mean,
the goal, it was on the goal list, so that's what I'm saying. It was a big area. I don't really know. I mean, it's all set up. We're, just to let you know, it's scheduled for August 26th, work session the following, the normal council meeting on August 26th. And I'm assuming after our discussion, council, it will be council's pleasure, but I'm assuming you would want to take it to vote at the first meeting. So-
I don't think it's gonna happen August 26th.
Why?
I just don't think they're gonna come back by then,
Okay.
so.
The other part of this, though, that still begs the question whether it's Crooked Run West or any other development out there is the water site, the water.
The water I mean, the staff needs to have I think you can still go through, we need to know what the facts are out there, our
Right.
capacity, or what other ramifications, in other words, what other modifications to our system would be required. How much of our capacity are we willing to put out there?
Also, doesn't the developer, the proposed developer, doesn't the plans keep changing?
Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
They have changed. Staff is currently working on what we call just the facts on capacity levels. Those are easy to come by. We have those already. Right now, what we're looking at is we do have some issues out there already in the corridor, and what impact those 1,000 units would be, and what infrastructure improvements we would have to do for it would not impact the rest of the part of the town. There are some improvements that most likely will have to take place, particularly at Guard Hill. So staff is addressing those issues as well, because we don't want to be short-sighted by always looking at the capacity side of what we can get out of the river, but we also got to look at what is going to impact our existing customer base. So they're looking at that. I'm hoping by the end of this week to have all those numbers together.
It'll be in relation to, so you throw 1,000 homes out, it's in relation to the development plan of those 1,000 homes. So in other words, not day one,
Right.
1,000 homes and what it does to our infrastructure.
Well, I think you need to look at further even than that. If you open the door up for one, you're gonna have to open the door up for the rest.
We already opened that door for a long time ago.
Not the rich, you know, we did.
You didn't for residential, you didn't for the golf course?
That was one deal, but this was the MOU that we had.
Yeah.
Under run
This is
now,
the second
that means
deal.
everything we've done is gonna be obsolete.
I'm just saying you already have opened up the door when you put water out to another subdivision.
So I don't think we need to, in my opinion, I think the title of that should not be Crooked Run West. The title of that should be supplying water for residential purposes out in 522. To me, that's the topic. Because I think first we gotta determine, is that our policy? Do we wanna do that? And if so, we're prepared to provide X gallons. I don't know, I'm just rambling.
Yeah, I like where you're going with that because, you know, I know that there's strong feelings on this both directions, but some of this was said in councils in past, and I think that we need to get to what's our capacity, what's our capability, do we have an appetite to do that, do we want to do that, and have that discussion again.
And stop screwing around these developers that, you know, these developers have come in and want to do business in Warren County with town services, water, and sewer. You know, if we had our policy in place and said, look, we're only prepared to provide X number of gallons out in the 522 corridor, then
But we do have that in place. Okay? We got all that in place already.
how much are we going to provide, are we willing to provide? No more?
Well,
residential.
The run area was
For residential.
30,000 gallons.
Residential.
The rest of it, there's been a moratorium on the residential ever since we did the 1998 annexation agreement.
Well, that 20 years is up.
That's,
No, there was no time limit on that.
It was 20 years if I'm not mistaken, am I
No,
right?
it wasn't.
Yeah, I think it was.
No, it wasn't.
So,
I think that, I understand what you're saying, Gene. What I'm saying is I think that this council wants to discuss it.
Well, hey, that's fine. I mean, I'm just one person.
So we're really talking about water service capacity for the corridor.
Yeah,
Be it
what that
commercial or
means-
residential.
Yeah, what that means, because number one, just as a non-starter, like, if what we've committed to today within the town and where we want to go with our growth, it's impossible for us to do that, then we know what our policy is, we can't do that. But if there is capabilities and we're deciding if it's commercial, residential, whatever, then I would like to get that to be a little bit more definitive.
you know, look, I'm here to tell you right now, there's been councils in the past, many years ago in the past, that did everything they could to prevent any kind of growth outside of town limits and using our services. And I think we need to reevaluate that policy and that philosophy.
well, I think the problem is that they weren't able to control the growth in them areas. And I feel the same way. If we were to annex that area, able to control the growth, then I'd be more inclined to provide, wouldn't have any choice. But as it stands right now,
That's fine. I'm not saying we need to come up with a policy tonight, but I think we just need to give some direction to the business community.
because the county's gonna come to us every time somebody throws them a little bait, they're gonna come to us for water and sewer. If we do this up there, if we do that out there, Crooked Run West, it'll happen, again and again and again. And they're gonna say, well, you did it here, you did it there, so why not do it, now? I would like to see us, if we're gonna get into supplying water and sewer in them areas. I would like to see us annex it, boundary adjustment, whatever, so we can control the growth. I know Gene's not for it, but it'll solve all the problems. That's my opinion.
So-
Comment.
Thank you.
You'll never be able to.
Jellyfish.
Let me put this, you can't afford it.
Look, we can,
Okay,
Jellyfish.
jellyfish, yeah. So the goal is to determine water capacity for the corridor by,
Well, I think water capacity and water policy. Now,
we already
Gene's right.
have a policy
Gene's right.
in the code that addresses that, which takes, first step is, do you annex it, do you do a boundary adjustment? And I can't remember the other steps, but there's like 4 or 5 steps that's in the code.
Can we look at that in conjunction with the capacity? Let's look at capacity, what we have, so that everybody has the facts. Let's look at our policy and see if our policy still meets that desire.
we can annex it.
Well, that might be the first step of it.
So we can determine water capacity for the corridor. We're working on that already.
You also need, not only water capacity, but what other upgrades in order to support water in the corridor?
Water capacity improvements. Water capacity and improvements. Improvements for additional service. Additional service in the corridor. Right?
Speaking of that, when are we supposed to get that information from our engineer, CHA, on $12 million line that parallel?
August 26th. We're coming August 26th, to be following the regular council meeting. They have completed their preliminary engineering review, and we will determine what the next steps are.
Why isn't 10 and 12 combined?
What? 10 and 12?
It's 10 and 12.
Why would that be?
8 and 10.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Because
because
they're really two separate projects. One does not depend on the other in my.
Okay, we're talking about water, I was just trying
Yeah.
to put it together.
Okay, so we're good? We're gonna go lightning round here pretty soon?
Yep.
How many have we hit? 8.
it's not bad. Code enforcement, number 9, and number 14, property maintenance, connected. Are these?
I think they don't like combining them. Remember, one's like your grass height and one isn't.
Oh, is that the case?
Yeah, I remember we
Okay.
did that last meeting.
Just making sure we're talking about 2 separate things.
I mean, code enforcement. What's our goal in code enforcement? Enforce the code?
Honestly, I had trouble. That's why it says goal areas, because some of the area was so broad, I didn't know what direction.
Tell us who put that on there, Joe, so we can.
Yeah, Joe.
Yeah. Put that on there.
Chris,
Oh, you're right. Excited, let's go.
I honestly, I don't know.
It wouldn't be.
Maybe if.
Take it off?
No, did it have to do with the conversation of, I know we were talking about what we were addressing, kind of the methodology of how we're addressing what we're addressing within the town, enforcement of it, the time spent doing that. I'm just not sure what the goal of it was.
I know that when we were talking about this, I did have Jeremy Camp come and talk to council about the inspection process, some of the stats, and their proactive approach. And I was hoping that would address some of the concerns of council, but
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Fine on that.
Unless y'all need to, I think we're
Well,
good.
are we talking about connected with going down to the property maintenance, or are we talking about code enforcement of a pre-existing town?
That's why I asked the question. I thought it was the pre-existing. I think this one references the pre-existing town.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
And I think we need to be proactive. Anything that's in violation of code ought to be immediately taken care of. Period. By any department, police or zoning or whatever. I mean, if we're gonna get to that point.
I wouldn't waste paper on it.
yeah, that's a standard. That should be our marching order already.
I agree, but it's not being done.
We can't catch them all, Gene.
know that, but we mentioned, see what we see.
Or did we just get an email about?
Yes, sir, and I did apologize to that citizen that I did not respond back to him, but staff has been working on that. And that citizen has been contacted both by me and by my staff. But I did apologize for that citizen, but we were working on it. My fault was that I did not let that citizen know. I assumed my staff would have contacted that citizen, but they didn't, but I did apologize.
And you're gonna make that adjustment with staff to make sure that they understand that
Yes, sir.
responses are needed?
Yes, sir.
But
You know,
we only have one guy, right?
unfortunately, sometimes things fall through the crack, and I apologize, and I apologize to that citizen as well, but, you know, unfortunately, it fell through the crack.
And Joe, we only have one guy going out checking, if I'm not mistaken, am I right?
Yeah.
So
We
you
have
can't
one
catch everybody. I mean,
All right, number 10,
Number 10.
Route 522 corridor water redundancy project. What's the goal?
The goal, obviously, we've got it set up. We're coming with the PER on August 26th. That will dictate what our next steps are and how much we're going to have to invest. So I'm not 100% sure. That's already a goal established, and we've got a set date on August 26th. I don't know.
This is something that essentially over a period of time is self-funding anyways, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna pay for itself.
Okay, anything to discuss?
And one part of this I just wanted to discuss was that was predicated on the reduced utilization of Dominion using less water. Is that correct?
No, actually, you know, Dominion, they signed a contract with the town, and they had set rates for 5 years, and after 5 years, it started gradually going up. With that gradual increase on their rate, we'll actually fund this project as we move forward with the additional revenues from that. You'll see from Dominion.
Okay.
Okay, project budgets, number 11.
Okay.
I don't see how this,
yeah, that should be like,
how we're gonna be able to do this without knowing.
The EDA stuff.
This just seems like the vicious cycles topic.
One of the things that me and BJ are working on right now, some that the mayor's tasked us with, is all these encumbered funds and POs that are outstanding. We're currently evaluating and drilling down on staff to find out what projects are still current and can the funds be released. I am personally tasking staff to justify the outstanding balances on all these POs. We are hoping, what date did we commit, BJ?
September, I believe it was the second work session.
Second work session, we were trying to gear towards be able to have a full detailed list of every encumbered outstanding PO and if we can release it or does it have to stand. And we're taking a very hard look at that to make sure that there are no available funds out there that we can use for other measures such as PD financing or legal fees for the EA or whatever else. But we are looking at it very hard to try to allocate some additional funding. Now I know that's a little separate than the project budgets that Matt's been talking about, but it's kind of part of that first phase.
I think when this was initially discussed, maybe it was like, you know, I&I, $1 million.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Happy Creek, blank dollars.
I think we broke them down.
Streets, blank dollars, you know, and just trying to understand the appetite the council has versus what we can actually spend money on.
So you want a detailed list? Well, yeah.
I think
But this is going off, I assumed this was something that Matt was bringing up about changing budget philosophy.
Well, that's part of it. In other words, if Joe were to ask you, name the projects that we have for the next 5 to 10 years and how much it's going to cost, in a prioritized list, I don't know that we have that.
Our POs.
We can create it. It's not there
Right, I
yet,
agree.
but we can create it.
And I
And
think
maybe
it's
that's the
important-
goal.
I think it's important for us to have visibility on that, to say, okay, is this really a project? No, a good example, what do you guys call it? The connector road? What was that? The project over there by,
West Bay Connector.
West Main Connector, is that still in motion? Do we still, are we pulling the funds off that? Is that
That-
dead?
Funds were pulled.
Oh, look at me.
Well, I'm just, Right?
Jake's out
We
here.
already done
We may have to pay
Was it
all that
good?
money back.
Right.
We might be looking at about 600,000, we gotta pay back
Then
to the
then that's
state.
gonna affect the budget.
Big time.
Right.
Big time.
That's why I said this was a vicious cycle.
Would you all like to have this overall project list with cost and time schedules?
I think so, that'd be nice.
When you think y'all
When?
get,
Oh, when?
November 30th?
No, I think that if you give us to the second meeting in September, we can provide this as well as the encumbered funds, because that's where this is hinging on.
Okay, that's fine.
So, second meeting in September.
Be great.
So the 19th.
Jay, you gonna be able to sleep?
There's 174
A lot of
people
stuff
behind me.
A lot of stuff due in September.
Second week of September.
Yeah.
Go ahead and put
September
it
15th,
You can figure out the date.
September 30th.
Yeah, I'll say September 30th, but with the goal of bringing it to the second
Together.
work session.
We'll be fine.
Budget ordinance here in the next couple of weeks for overtime.
Who's going to champion this?
I'll try.
Anything else on project budgets?
Nope. 12, compensation study.
I thought this was done, to be honest with you. I thought we've done year 1, year 2, we've implemented the merit increase program, and we're waiting to do year 3 as part of the budget.
That's all that will be in the budget this year, Jeff?
Excuse me?
Compensation year 3, is that going to automatically be in the budget this year, right?
We will include it as recommended by council, and the council can make a determination of the overall. This will be our 3rd year of funding the compensation study.
Okay, so scratch through that one.
We made the commitment, we need to stick with it.
Yeah.
And, in my opinion,
I'm firm with that. I mean, we spent the money on it, the time, the effort, the job descriptions, everything, and pulling back from our employees would be bad.
So next up.
Old Town Hall. I
Old
think
Town?
that was mine. I think it'd be good for council to give staff, or for all of us, what do we want to see take place? Do we just want to allow it to continue to rot?
Well, I thought we were gonna set up a meeting.
Yeah.
That's in motion, but what's the end result here? I know there was some,
Well, I think it's a shame to see it sit there and just fall apart. I mean, that was town hall. I mean, it used to be the fire department. A lot of people don't know that.
Nope.
I think it's a dumb idea to get rid of it anyway. I would like to, if we could take it back. I don't know. I don't
okay.
even know if we could do that, so.
Well, step one's going to be, we're going to inspect it. The letter's already gone to Doug Napier, I'm sorry.
I just wanted, Joe, is there any way we can, if we do get it back, then maybe we can turn it into, offices and stuff for town? I mean, I don't know how cramped you guys are down here, but definitely, if we got it back, we want to put it to good use.
Well, I think, okay, that's a good point. So in other words, inspection, resolution, number 2 would be resolution, meaning either Burris, or the owner's going to, either he's going to uphold his end of the contract, or the town government decides to do something. And then the 3rd is with to determine the use, and the 4th is determine what our plan is as far as moving forward. So
What was number 2? I'm sorry.
2 would be encourage the current owner to abide by the contract. Contract enforcement.
Contract enforcement, yep.
Doug, how long is that contract enforceable?
It really is enforceable for, the contract terms run with the land, so it's basically enforceable forever.
So it's good,
Yeah.
because I know we had an option after 5 years to do that, we haven't done anything with that.
He hasn't done anything with it either.
No.
I don't see him doing anything with it. I think we got the same issue with Andy Avenue. I mean, and then he wouldn't reply. I mean, it was just, and I would say the same thing here.
Well, Doug sent him a letter. He's been asking for an inspection. We haven't gotten the right response, so we gave him 3 dates and said on the 3rd day, we're gonna use whatever means necessary to get in the building, and not any means necessary. We rephrase that. Joe with the crowbar.
Cover it, Doug, I'm going in.
He'll follow whatever paperwork necessary to get into the building.
Hand grenade. Okay.
You good with that?
Yeah, so really.
I'll take ownership of that until I leave.
Everything is
Next few months, you'll
like
take it. That means you'll get it done before you leave, then, right?
Yeah, yes. I want to know what you want for. Just my mother, I'm still here.
Sorry.
Property maintenance. We really gonna get into this discussion at 8:37?
No.
Well, I mean, I was planning on wrapping it up at 8:40 with some follow-up and revisit everything. But with that thought in mind, we still have property maintenance, workforce housing, Valley Health pilot, and parking meters.
Let's just get right to the parking.
We can cross off parking meters. No one wants parking meters.
There,
we saw
All right,
something.
is that right? Everyone's.
I saw a lot of traffic on Facebook today.
Yeah.
Parking meters are.
No parking meters.
All right, so we're gonna scratch parking meters? Okay.
Okay.
So, under property maintenance, if we're gonna discuss this. Yeah, I guess I can go ahead and say it. So, I had an idea on these blighted buildings. Is that part of it?
Wait, so we're gonna go into this discussion then?
Are we?
We start this, we're
Well,
gonna do it.
you know, I
Or
think.
the other postponent?
This is very important to council, and I recognize that, but I think that we'd be doing it injustice if we started this conversation at 20 to 9 and
Yeah.
wanted to end at 9. Because I really do believe there's a lot of talk that needs to
Because we
happen
talked about
here.
putting 1 or 2 of these goals on our future work sessions to start discussing. So let's decide this.
Okay.
Which 2 goals do you want to discuss at our next work session?
Property maintenance, for
Property
sure.
maintenance,
And I guess we could do some workforce housing. Just the next 2 on the list, I guess.
well, we also have down underneath, you got reduced town government expense,
Okay.
discussion, public relations, communications, marketing, Steel Street, food management.
I have something to give you on public relations communications.
If we're gonna be talking budgetary type stuff, because I think you're gonna be for some direction, then obviously government expenses.
I tend to agree. So we'll do 14 and 1 for the next meeting. And then the second one.
And I think fleet management plan can just come out in the capital request during the budget period. I mean, I think it's just gonna be,
That's already been discussed.
right,
I mean, I can-
here's the plan and.
I can give you an update if you like.
Not now, but workforce housing. I tell you what I want to hear. I want to hear about this Valley Health pilot. So because that's an income, could be an income
Yeah.
producer, right?
Yep.
So can we do that the second?
That's a good idea.
Doug, do you think you'd be here
discuss
for that
one
too?
on,
Whatever, what you said would be here.
what's the
You're not gonna-
September 2nd, I think?
Well, just Joe, just get Joe. Tell Joe which one.
I'll be
Is
gone.
that the date?
That's the next work
That's
session.
perfect.
Right.
It'll be the next work session.
So, yeah.
All right, so we'll do those 3. We'll do property maintenance, Valley Health pilot, and town government expenses next work session.
On September 2nd. Got it.
Can the property maintenance maybe hit the following?
No.
Oh, because you want to be part of that
I would
one?
like to be a part of that conversation.
All right, so we got Valley Health on second,
Valley Health and reduced government expense.
and then you want to do public relations? Do you care about that right now? So Latasha will do that one.
Yeah.
So we'll do Valley Health pilot, reduced town government expense, public relations.
Yes, still abstain.
Doug, can you get something to us on that pilot for the health? Valley Health Power. I know you talked to somebody before. You ready to give us something?
The other thing I wanted to, I thought we were going to cover it under one of these other sections, but I want to talk about our tap fees.
Okay.
So can we put that on the next work session as well?
September 2nd.
Is that possible?
Yeah, actually, I am ready to come and talk about tap fees. You've given that task to us 30, 45 days ago.
Yeah.
We're ready, so I can put it on September 2nd, and we can have a full discussion on it. Staff's ready. We're just running out of dates, because 26 is stacked with CHA. I really don't want to put a lot on there, so September 2nd, we can discuss that.
Y'all good with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
It's another 4 hours.
All right, you want to wrap up?
Yeah, let me wrap up. Wanted to go through these goals one more time, make sure everybody's in concurrence.
Good.
Okay. Happy Creek area. Goal 1 is develop a plan to improve scoring for funding of Happy Creek Phase 2 by October 30th.
Okay.
Gary's going to champion that. We're going to establish a committee to address plan, P&D and subdivisions ordinances by September 30th. With an alternate committee, we'll provide a report by January 30th, 2020. Chris and Jeremy are on this one. Pedestrian safety. Bill's taking the lead on pedestrian safety, where we're currently working on South Street. We've got the revenue sharing for the lights on North Shenandoah. As one of the big goals coming out of here, we're going to reevaluate the South Street plan by September 30th. Tasha's going to take the lead on that. We're also going to develop a safety plan for Crowfoot near the soccer fields by September 19th. We're going to address what we can do down there for traffic calming measures, as well as we'll investigate the speed bumps and rumble strips. Tasha's going to take the lead on that. All right, I&I issues. Chris, you're going to champion this. We're going to develop an overall plan to address the I&I issues by the end of the year. A plan of action and alternative work such as in-house. Health insurance. Jake, you're going to champion this. We're going to issue an RFP for healthcare services within 30 days.
If you don't mind, if you just send me a copy, I'll
Yep.
proofread it.
Okay, great. Afton Inn, we're going to develop an action plan to redevelop the Afton Inn by September 15th. Matt, you're going to champion that.
I'm going to need BJ part of that as well. BJ's going to have to be part of the Acton Inn.
All right. Wow. Water service capacity for the corridor. Determine water capacity improvements for the additional service in the corridor by. We didn't put a date there.
Before, I mean, that's gonna have to be sooner rather than later, right? Because the water capacity at least, because of Crooked Run.
Well, they've already got the water capacity.
Yeah, we've got the water
that done.
capacity. I think I can have this done by the end of the month. I was really angling for having everything done by August 26th because I thought we were going to be, it was probably the next available day for Crooked Run. But I will put that as a
Yeah,
date.
I got a phone call from the attorney that said that they don't know when they're gonna be ready to come to council. Apparently they're completely reconsidering their options, which is good.
All right, so I'm going to put
Gary's the champion.
August 26th. And who's the champion? Gary? All right.
I think he's got voted in for that.
We got to see if somebody's been getting missed at.
Is that good? Where's Bill and Sasha?
I'm on there for a couple of
All right. That's why we reviewed to make sure we got everything squared. Project budgets. Gene's going to champion this. We're going to develop an overall project list with cost and time schedules by September 30th. All right. Old Town Hall. Matt is going to sponsor this, champion it. We're going to inspect the property by August 30th with our we're going to contract enforcement, use, and try to help future plan of development of that property or
And
future
I'll be
use.
working closely with Doug Nathan on that one. He knows that.
Infrastructure. T-Walt's going to champion that. Going to develop an overall infrastructure plan with cost estimates by September 30th. Short-term, long-term include curb and gutter. We're gonna look at developing funding alternatives to implement the plan by the end of October, so it gives us about 30 days. EDA, we really didn't develop any goals because there's a lot of things going on already right now. The EDA Reform Committee, which Jake is most likely going to chair or at least be the point for us. Doug Napier on the lawsuit and project financing, BJ. Very good. I think that's it. Yep. And like I said, I will provide a summary of this to council tomorrow.
Joe, that is a nice job. You made it through
Perfect.
quite a bit in a very
Yeah.
little amount of time. That was excellent facilitation.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. I know
Thank you.
this has been, staff's put a lot of time and effort. You know, I tell you what I'm really excited about. Having been an outsider, now coming on the inside, I'm just really pleased with the way I see things moving forward as far as a planning perspective and execution of work. And so I just wanted to commend, please pass that on next staff meeting, how happy we are. You know, we have always room for improvement, but I think we're definitely making a lot of progress. So we haven't had a real recap of the joint meeting to speak of from the EDA. Just want to take this opportunity to say how I was just super excited. I think it was a very productive meeting. You know, I think a lot of things need to be said and aired out. I was very pleased they allowed us to not only ask the questions, but made an attempt to give us answers. We were planning to have a joint meeting with the EDA and the Board of Supervisors. It was scheduled for the 27th. An EDA member contacted me and said, "Is that hard set in stone?" And I said, "Well, not as far as I'm concerned, but I can't make unilateral decisions." Apparently 2 EDA members are going to be missing that meeting. Considering that we haven't had the first meeting yet with anyone, we may want to push that into the September 2nd week. How do y'all feel about that?
I won't be here that week, but here's the thing. I thought that the board of supervisors, town council, everybody checked their calendars at that meeting.
Without the EDA.
But is it
Weren't
Doug
they
who's gonna be missing?
Doug Parsons?
Yeah.
No, it's 2 members. So you want to go ahead and have it?
Well, what is the likelihood that we're gonna get
A meeting where everybody can be present?
everybody's gonna be there? Just like if you happen to move to the second.
Video, so.
If you happen to move to the second, that's fine. I won't be there. But, I mean, that's my point is you're gonna hit every single day.
I know all the council members and all the Board of Supervisors members were good with the 27th. So again, I think that's another meeting. I think they want to do their presentation to us that they had planned. I think we have an opportunity to ask more questions. So I'm good with keeping it 27th. I'm relaying information. Joe, did you have any input on that?
No.
So would you send a message, would you mind, I guess Jennifer, would you mind notifying Doug Stanley and Doug Parsons that we're apologetic, I guess, that.
Matt, to be clear though, if that, moving into that week works for everybody else, it's certainly not making the schedule.
I need
for
you
me.
at that, you gotta
So-
be, you're chairing the committee, I need you at that meeting, the joint meeting. So you've gotta be there.
Jennifer, the responses for the scheduled meeting on that, are they coming back for the second date and time or the first date and time?
Most of them are for the Thursday.
Oh, okay.
We are gonna miss one of the Dougs for each of the dates.
I was down at
It's gonna be hard.
when Joey Warren went in to change the dates.
I don't
She's got 2 dates.
know that we can't miss one of the Dougs. I think that they both need to be there.
What's the
There's
test?
3 Dougs, actually.
Which Dougs?
Not our
We
Doug.
will, our Doug is available anytime or place.
And Doug Stanley?
Is not available for Tuesday. Mr. Parsons is not available for the Thursday.
Thursday or Monday?
Monday, I mean. Mr. Parsons is available for Thursday. Mr. Stanley is not available for Thursday.
Okay.
So,
we could hit the Monday the 26th then, and we'd miss Doug Parsons.
Correct.
And I think we should shoot for that time, and that'll be the Monday before the Tuesday meeting if it does happen on Tuesday.
so the information I'm getting now is that the EDA was gonna request September 10th.
Okay.
Do you have
That
any
may
information on
not be a bad idea that allows this committee to get a foothold.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not a race, really.
No,
I don't think
we
it
wanna
is
do
a
it right.
race.
And-
Yeah.
And I wanted to afford them the opportunity to, look, candidly, I just wanted to keep momentum at that last meeting. So if we have to do this kind of adjustments, I'm fine with it. Are you say the 10th?
Joey Martin tentatively set the 10th and the next following week. Now, I don't know, she was gonna get back with the EDA board and the others, and so far apparently she hadn't contacted him. But she talked to the girl, because I was down there when she talked to them.
Okay.
That's fine. I agree with.
So Jennifer, would you contact the EDA and the county and find out what dates they wanted to modify it, and let's try to circle that around. And if it is the 10th, I'm supposed to speak at the Chamber of Commerce meeting at 5 o'clock that day. I could probably make it by 6. Wouldn't be a problem with that.
6 is better for most of this group too. I think
Yeah.
they're commuting or driving.
Okay, guys, we covered a whole lot. Anything else to come before council this work session? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries.